Hi, welcome back. So let's review consistent carbohydrate and recommendations for people with diabetes if you're trying to manage your blood glucose, or even when you don't have diabetes or you're looking to lose some weight, or maybe you have pre-diabetes and you want to get rid of some of that insulin resistance. This is going to work for you. So let's get started. Carbohydrates. So total carbohydrates per day are approximately 150 to 180 grams of carbs divided into meals and snacks. So that would be for an average person, general size. So if you're an athlete, you're probably going to do the 200 plus grams of carbohydrates. You'll probably be on 2,200 calories. But in general, when we're looking at calories and carbohydrates, calories, the average person's on around 1,200, 1,600 or 1,800. Athletes around 2,000, 2,200. So that would still mean that your meals, if you're counting calories, are going to be 200 or 300 calories or 1,200 calories divided throughout the day. But we're going to count carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are that glucose or that energy. Unused energy is extra weight. And when we're also looking at trying to manage the carbohydrates for the blood glucose, this works really well. It also helps with weight loss too. So let's get started with, again, carbohydrates, total carbs per day, approximately 150 to 180 grams divided into meals and snacks. So men are around 60 to 70 grams per meal, or a smaller amount. If you're less active or you need to lose weight, your meal will be around 45 to 60. For women, you will be for meals around 45 to 60 grams per meals plus a snack. If you are less active or need to lose weight, you will be around 30 to 45 grams per meal and save some for the snacks. So when we're looking at the amounts, we're counting the carbohydrates throughout the day. We're looking at trying to keep our blood glucose between those levels. So here's some key points when you have diabetes. So if you ate a meal that is around 50 grams of carbohydrates, and you did a finger stick 2 hours after you ate that meal that was a variety of fruits and vegetables, a protein, and a small grain serving. And I always recommend that the grain, the rice, the starchy carb serving should be around 25 to 30 as a serving for starchy carbohydrates. And then the rest of your plate's going to be the fruits and vegetables. So if you eat a well-balanced meal and you check your blood glucose, it should be less than 180, 2 hours. Then 3 hours, 170, 160, 150, 140, 130, back around to 80 to 130. So if you know you ate the right amount of nutrition in carbohydrates, that's a good indicator that the therapies or medications that you're on, or maybe if you're not on any, that you have insulin resistance. So once you start putting this together, you'll notice in several days, I even see results within 10 days, when you count your carbohydrates, you're going to start looking at better glucose levels. As long as your insulin resistance is resolved, if there's an infection or if you're on a steroid or medication, you should start seeing some results with those target ranges. So again, the goal is around 150 to 180 grams of carbs divided throughout meals and snacks. If you need to lose weight, you're going to stick with around the 150. And once you get that weight goal, you can start adding back up. Do it in 15 gram carb choices. Back up. If you have a really busy day, I recommend that you can go a little bit higher with that daily intake. So let's talk a little bit about not getting in enough carbohydrates. So have you ever wondered again, if you haven't eaten, your blood sugar remains high? Again, your body's going to dump glucose. It's better to teach your body that you're going to eat consistently and provide the nutrients that you need so that it's not dumping excess glucose, and your target ranges will improve pretty quickly. So let's talk about not eating enough carbohydrates. So if you look for around 30 to 50 net carbs a day, let's say you were thinking, boy, that sounds like a lot of carbohydrates, and you're always making food choices have 0 carbohydrates or no carbohydrates, that's not providing you at least your 45 for that meal. So that's not enough. So if you went throughout your day and you took in 35 to 50 net carbs. So net carbs means that if you read a label and it had a certain number of carbohydrates, but it also had fiber, and you subtracted the fiber from the carbs, that's how you get a net carb. Many weight plans, meal plans use that net carb description when they talk about their foods because it has a lower carb number. So anytime you do less than 50 grams of total carbs per day, that may put you into ketoacidosis. So ketoacidosis means that your cells do not have enough glucose, carbohydrates. So your body is going to use protein for an energy source. It has to work a little bit harder to utilize that protein source. Carbohydrates are fast, short energy for your cells. So this sounds good, but we don't always want to use glucose. We don't always want to use protein. But when we kick down the glucose level so low, the body says, I need some fast energy. So it comes over and it grabs some fat. So we start burning and we start losing weight, and we think, boy, this is really great. But what happens is when you use fat for fuel, there's a byproduct. It's a waste product called ketones. So ketones break down and they're in the blood. And so it can cause your vascular system to be ketoacidotic. So it means that your vascular system is acidotic. So that is like putting meat in vinegar. It can break down the cellular structure and it's not a good state to be in. And yes, sometimes working with bariatrics patients, we may have them in a keto diet state for a very short period of time. So they're going to be on a very, very low level of carbohydrates, but they'll also be provided extra nutrients and proteins, and they'll be on supplements, but they'll be monitored with a medical management team. So yes, I understand when people like that of losing weight quickly, and sometimes for kicking into losing weight, but staying in that ketoacidosis for any period of time is very dangerous. And so most people who start losing that weight, they stay in that keto state for a long period of time. It can cause inflammation, it can cause organ inflammation. Sometimes your labs will come back with poor results or abnormal results because of that. So less than 50 grams of carbohydrates a day may kick you into ketoacidosis. So we want our system working properly. So you're looking at around 150 grams of carbohydrates divided into meals and snacks, so that you eat your food, your blood sugar goes down, eat it and goes down. So again, you want to start in the morning by checking your blood sugar. When you are taking insulin or if you're on any diabetic medication, you're looking for around 80 to 130. But sometimes what happens is if you did not eat a consistent carbohydrate diet that day, we have something called the dawn phenomenon, where the blood sugar with diabetics drops around 4 a.m. So that liver is going to dump glucose, and when you wake up in the morning, you're thinking, oh my gosh, my blood sugar is already 170. How am I supposed to get this into range? Well, how you do it is you will do a PM snack before you go to bed of around 20 grams of carbohydrates, around 15 to 20. And that'll be a protein and a carbohydrate, or 2% milk or cheese and crackers, or an apple, peanut butter, a small portion of a banana, peanut butter. So you're telling your body that while it's functioning at night and it's utilizing glucose to repair and function and sleep, that you're going to provide it that snack so that the 4 a.m. drop doesn't occur. You're going to have your snack, and hopefully eventually you'll start seeing some of those morning results more in target range. And then again, you're also going to count your meal carbohydrates, and 2 hours later, that blood glucose should be less than 180. Let's say that 2 hours later, you do 1 hour later, and it's very, very low. It could mean that you have gastroparesis, which means it's a diabetic neuropathy, that the food is just sitting there and it hasn't really digested and processed into your small intestines and into your system. And then all of a sudden it just processes, and then your blood sugar goes back up to 200. So again, what you're trying to do is to provide continuous nutrition so those events don't occur. So those numbers, when you check your blood sugar, is not looking for right or wrong. It's looking for information, for trends, for you to understand how your body's processing the food and the foods that you're eating, so you can work with your medical management team to get better goals. So again, you eat the right amount of carbs. 2 hours later, you check that blood glucose. It should be less than 180. If it's not, and you ate the right amount of food, you're going to take those results to your primary care, and they're going to look to see if they need to put you on something for insulin resistance, or do you make enough insulin? So those are results that are going to help your primary care understand your particular diabetes. Also, the consistent carbohydrate, if you start this consistent carbohydrate routine and you exercise at least 10 minutes every day, if you can take that 10 minutes and divide it by 2 and do 2 times, morning 10, evening 10, but always do the talk test. So when you are out walking and exercising, I don't want you to run a marathon. I want you to walk and be able to talk and say your name. If you get out of breath, you slow down. And always before exercising, make sure you've been cleared with your medical management team. But along with diet and exercise, you will start seeing results, again, within 10 to 14 days. So I look forward to seeing you at my next presentation. I'm going to talk about nutrition fact label and other types of diets that are out there, so that when you start looking at food labels, you will start noticing that any of those prepared weight meal plans are around 45 to 60 total carbohydrates per serving size. And then some of the smaller portions are going to be around 35 carbs. Well, yes, if you're only eating the 35 grams of carbs, of course you're going to lose some weight also. So when you understand what you're looking for in the total carbohydrate counts and how many to have per day, you'll be able to choose the foods you like, choose the brands you like, and work with some of those prepared meals, but be able to make the choices that works for your blood glucose and also works for losing that weight to resolve some insulin resistance and help your system work better. I'll see you soon.